Love it. Awesome. Good stuff. Well, this past Sunday, my priest, he mentioned something in his homily that really stood out to me. Now, I can't remember it verbatim, but it basically was about how God is always with us and has always been with us, whether we have noticed him or not. Now, I thought that was interesting because I feel like I do notice God working through me nowadays. I have a stronger relationship with God now, so I'm much more aware of how he guides me. I notice it when knowing God, seeing God, and more importantly, understanding God's effects on my life. The part of the homily that stood out to me was thinking back on my life, wondering when and how God was there when I wasn't looking out for him, when I wasn't aware of him, when I wasn't focused on what he brings to my life. It was actually kind of strange because as he was talking, I got a vivid memory of a moment in my life when I was maybe 17, 18 years old that I haven't thought about in ages. As he was talking and I was thinking, I literally was writing this monologue in my head while in the pew. One of the things that I was debating was if I was even comfortable sharing this story because it's one that brings me great shame to talk about and to share with you guys. It's one of the terrible memories that is, kind of easy to push it deep down in my mind and lock it away in a box, hide it deep in the back of my mind like it's never happened. So instead of pushing it down and being afraid of sharing something vulnerable with you guys, I'm going to trust the Holy Spirit and tell you guys what I was thinking while hearing about God always being with us, even if we're not with God at that particular point in our lives. So in the early 2000s, during my senior year of high school, I got wrapped up in the prescription opioid problem that was running rampant in our country. I very foolishly tried taking an OxyContin, and from the first try, I fell hard into pills taking over my life. I didn't put a ton of thought into this realization at the time, but OxyContin was a synthesized form of heroin designed for patients in extreme pain. I, unfortunately, was using it recreationally. Most people that got hooked on this drug eventually switched their addiction from the pill form to the real thing because of the significant difference in price and availability. There was a moment when I was confronted with a choice. This choice is the moment that hit me like a ton of bricks in church on Sunday. I can distinctly remember sitting in the car with a friend of mine, and we were looking to get high. We didn't have a ton of money, and we couldn't find anyone that had anything to sell. That's when he told me he could get us some of the actual real thing. He could get us some heroin, and that we could just sniff it to avoid having to use a needle, and that would do the same thing for us. Now, hearing this presented to me as a legitimate option scared the shit out of me. I had him drop me off, and shortly after that, I told my parents what I had been up to, and I came clean with them. And it was a pretty rocky couple of months trying to figure out how to put my life back together. Now, I truly believe that God was with me and watching out for me in that moment. The friend I was with did indeed start doing heroin, and I'm pretty sure he got some for himself that night. And his life spiraled downhill from there. I'm not sure where he is now or how he's doing, but our lives went in opposite directions on that night, and I never really had an explanation as to why. It's clear to me now that God helped guide me and that God saved me that night. This has opened questions in my head as to why God helped me but not him. And I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is that I was given a great gift that night, and I wasn't able to recognize it or acknowledge it until 22 years later. At the very least, I think I owe it to God to push through the embarrassment of sharing this story with you and the embarrassment of the choices that I made and the actions that I took, and give him his proper praise and glory. I think I should be thanking God every day that he saved my life and has blessed me with a beautiful wife and two amazing kids. They would not be in my life today if I had made the wrong choice that night. So that's why I'm sharing this story with you. And it's my hope that you hear this and that you can use this as a springboard to help you think back on a time that you were down and out when you were saved by God without even realizing it. And with that being said, I do believe it's time that we welcome in our good friend, Mr. Ric Flair, because it is showtime, baby. Woo!
Showtime! Woo! Woo!
Showtime juice. You ready to rock and roll, brother?
I guess, man, that was some pretty powerful stuff you just hit me with, but I'll press on.
I mean,
Good job.
it's true.
No,
Like I
no,
said,
dude, that was stellar.
not really enjoyable to talk about, not really fun to even acknowledge, but it just it felt so true. And that's 100% true. Like that's the feeling I had when I heard the homily. And I can't even explain why that memory is the memory that came back to me either, but that's God working, I think. Honestly, I really do. So I don't know.
Yeah, not to this isn't as deep as that, but you know, he does speak through those homilies. I was freshly back at church. We went together, and remember, there was the priest was saying some stuff that we were just talking about,
Yeah.
like a couple hours before.
Like
And
on
then
the drive to church, I feel like we were
Yeah.
talking about it.
And that was
Yeah.
just a, yep, I'm here, you know.
Yep.
I hear you in the car. I'm with you.
That is true. Now, the next thing we can hopefully help for, it's a small thing, so I understand if he puts it on the back burner, but maybe he can help this guy figure out how to fix his lighting situation in this studio one of these days.
When you started to get deep, like the lights came down for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not the producer doing that.